It wasn't us that destroyed that phrase, God is great. Yeah? That phrase was destroyed by all the radical Islamists worldwide, who every time we see a terrorist atrocity, a murder, anything, we hear God is great. So the frustration's there.
How you guys doing? This is Sahar TV, and about 10 years ago, Tommy Robinson was at Oxford University answering questions from students questioning his belief system. Let's see what he had to say to one of the students.
Hello, I'm from Tower Hamlets, and I was, quite well informed about the protests that the EDL wanted to do through Tower Hamlets. One of the biggest reasons why that protest was, so opposed in our borough was because it would have created even bigger divisions between the Muslims and the EDL, who claim to represent the rest of Britain. Well, you said it yourself. You said that this is a Muslim problem. The Muslim community needs to fix this problem on their own. The non-Muslim community can't fix this for us, and that's what we have to do. But then you have documentaries like the Stacey Dooley documentary that goes up to the most radical Islamic preacher, Anjem Chowdhury, and then interviews them. What did she expect to find if she went to a protest or a talk with the most radical preachers at its helm? Of course you will find extremism there. Of course you will find problems. Every time the Muslim community tries to step up to this, we're brandished as, supporting these extremist speakers. But why do they get so much limelight? Where are the normal Muslims? When we try to speak, our airtime is taken by these extremists, and you cause those divisions. Well, maybe not so much now, but your involvement with the EDL made these divisions even larger. Your protest, had it gone along, it would have helped, in fact, people like Anjem Chowdhury. They could have used that as fuel and food to encourage more innocent youngsters who are Muslim to see. He would have, gone out there and said, look, the EDL came to our hometown and they tried to spread hatred. Sure, your intentions may have been good, but when you brandish yourselves as, you sort of make it tribal when you create groups like the EDL. And then that's what the extremists want. So my question is, after saying all of that, is do you finally admit that your involvement with the EDL actually, in the long run, helped out these extremists?
These extremists don't need much help. Yeah? We've got probably 3 times as many British Muslims fighting for ISIS than fighting for the British Army. I wouldn't really say that it's played that big a factor in the ideology that is resulting in what we see as the cancer that is ISIS. We talk about Tower Hamlets, and us coming there would have created tensions, and that's why we shouldn't have been allowed there. The problem is, they're allowed to walk through my town centre. Yeah? No one stops them. And this is what we see. Yeah? When we talk about Anjem Chowdhury and his group actually protest outside Westminster Cathedral. Inside was not 1,000 Christian men, inside was families. The reason why we want to come to Tower Hamlets, let's look at the reason why we wanted to go. Lufta Rahman. Everything we said, and the reasoning why we wanted to go, I sat in custody and watched the Panorama documentary. It was everything we were saying. Eric Pickles has just put it into special measures. In Tower Hamlets, you have the mayor who was kicked out of the Labour Party for his extremist links. You then have him in charge of £1 billion budget of taxpayers' money. And if the Muslim community, you have 30% of Tower Hamlets is Muslim. The entire mayor and his committee are Muslim. It's not representative at all. If you want to look at where the funding's gone, because we've done it, we looked at the trail of the funding. All funding to any moderate Muslim group, any decent groups, has been siphoned and taken away, and the funding siphoned off to madrasas, and that's what taxpayers' money is funding. So what do we do? If we're angry about these issues, in a democracy, that's your way of venting your frustration and anger is to protest. When we wanted to go into Tower Hamlets, I went to the High Court, and the reason the police give, again this comes down to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. The reason the police give as to why we could not enter the borough of Tower Hamlets is because they could not control what was waiting for us. They clearly said in the High Court, we're not bothered by the English Defence League. We can't control the reaction. Our worry is that if you can't control the reaction of what people want to protest over in the year 2014 in Tower Hamlets, what's next? You can't control Luton, Birmingham, Bradford?
I have to tell you something. When I was in DC at this anti-Israel protest, it was 5 of us and a bunch of them, and the police kept coming to us to tell us to back away, to leave, and they were trying to de-escalate the situation on us. Why? We are not the people causing the problem. The people on the streets spitting on you, throwing bottles on you, these are the people causing the problems. What do you want to do with us? We were peaceful, we were there, we were asking questions. Well, de-escalation would be people who throw bottles at you and spit on you and curse you. This is de-escalation, not the peaceful people coming to ask questions that need to be answered.
It's a difficult one because at the same time, yeah, I do agree that they could easily use some of the actions and the things that are getting shouted. You know, like, for example, you hear on English Defence Leagues, I've mentioned this many times, Allah, Allah, who is Allah, yeah? Not helpful, okay? But it wasn't us that destroyed that phrase, God is great, yeah? That phrase was destroyed by all the radical Islamists worldwide, who every time we see a terrorist atrocity, a murder, anything, we hear God is great. So the frustration's there. People are angry about these issues. This is such a complex thing to try and solve, and it's probably one of the most pivotal times in our history of if we want an integrated society, we have to solve it. And with the English Defence League for 5 years, each time they're out on the streets, and even now I look at the organisation, it's like a cry for help for people to listen to what's going on, and I try and take myself out of my situation and put myself in yours. Yeah, I'd be angry. All these people coming in to my community. But you have to look at it from both ways. You know, like, I hear the stories, and in fact, I witnessed the story because when we had the UPL, we had our 3rd protest and we cancelled it. I was sitting in the hairdressers. There was a Muslim girl in the hairdressers. And she said, I need to get home, I need to get home. She needed to get home because she thought the BNP were in town. So she was scared. And I witnessed it myself, and that's not a good look or a good feeling, because that's not what I wanted. That's not what I want at all. It's never what I'd want. But I have to weigh that up with all the terrified people I meet. You know, like the Jewish fella in that programme, he's in Newham. He's terrified, mate. Post-traumatic stress. 300 attacks against him. That's why I want people to try and understand that the reasoning behind these protests, the reasoning why those people have spent their money and travelled halfway around the country to get there, is because they're scared. They're fearful of what's going to happen. What's happening now? We have 3,000 Islamists monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Terrorism arrests going up 60% every year. 300 currently, so over 300 arrested this year alone. What's it going to be like in 20 years, 30 years? And there was a thing that I saw which encouraged me.
Well, we're 10 years later after this interview, and things have gotten worse.
It was a statistic from a poll which said 50% of British Muslims do not feel represented by any mainstream organisation. Most of the mainstream organisations, like Muslim Council of Britain, these organisations, anytime I've looked into them, I find some really bad things. So that was quite promising, I thought. But a terrifying statistic is that 70% of people think that this country is going to end in civil conflict and civil war between Muslims and non-Muslims. That should terrify all of us. That's what people think. Now, I've been of that mindset. When I'm looking at what's going on, I think, where does this end? Where's it going to end for my kids? Their rights and freedoms are under attack now. So I try to balance all of that. And I get what you're saying, and I get that the police come out of a report in 2011 where they said that they believe the English Defence League's actions is actually fueling extremism. And at the time I laughed about it and said, what are you talking about? The extremism is already there. But I accept your point you're making, yeah. They could use easily the actions and snippets of things people are saying and doing on English Defence League demonstrations to fuel their fire, but it doesn't need much fueling. You know what I mean? They've got their ideology and they're set by it, and they're increasing in number, and I think by tomorrow we'll have more Muslim extremists in this country than we had yesterday. It's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. That's what we should be terrified about.
The reason why people in the UK love Tommy Robinson so much and look at him as a leader is the fact that he looks like a commoner. And that's why he attracts so much attention around him. Because the middle and lower class are looking at Tommy Robinson and they're saying, he's one of us. He is the one representing us. And that's why he gathers so much support from all around the UK and the world. I think he's amazing. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to support me financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon. Also, you can join the Discord in the description below, and you can become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.